My whole career was spent at that ballpark, and one of the greatest days that I can remember is the last game at Memorial Stadium when the Orioles brought every ball player that was still alive back to Memorial Stadium and introduced everybody. And being introduced on that field that day with Brooks Robinson went first, Frank went second, and I went third. And I'm telling you, I was like a little baby.
You don't have to introduce that man. He is the man, former O's player, four-time All-Star Baltimore legend, Boog Powell, his backyard barbecue boy. Big post-game tradition, and the food and the memories live on, of course, in a new book. And also every day if you go to Oriole Park, Camden Yards, the Boog's there along, greeting everybody, the honorary ambassador. With us this morning, we've got Rob Kasper, a longtime columnist here in Baltimore, and he co-authored this book. Rob Kasper, welcome.
Nice to be here, Tony.
Good to see you after all these years. He and I used to be on the food-eating circuit as he was a columnist and doing his food column, and here we are talking boog and baseball and barbecue now.
Yes, yeah, he's a great guy. He's a great cook, too. He's a serious cook.
Well, we've got Boog online. We'll ask you about how you all compile this together, but hello there, Boog. Are you out there in Boogland?
Yes, I am.
Hey, you know what I was just thinking? It was 22 years ago. I remember doing a feature story on you opening that little barbecue place, what is now called Camden Yards. Remember those days?
Oh, yes, I do. I was standing out there at 6 o'clock in the morning trying to tell somebody that, hey, we got barbecue coming and it's pretty good.
Back then, you were even telling me, you were saying, I'm not so sure, this thing will probably I hope it's going to go over pretty well, but now look where you are all these years later, and you're there still every game, right, greeting everyone and serving up that barbecue.
I try to come every game. I live over on the Eastern Shore now, and some days it's kind of hard to get across the bridge.
Yeah, I can imagine.
It's a good thing.
But I keep hearing people say they eat the sandwich and then you talk to them personally, greet them like you're their long-lost friend. So I think the food and the barbecue is great, but something about you and the connection with the fans after all these years.
Yeah, and, as time goes on, I think that I'm even enjoying it more. Some of the guys say, how can you do that every day? And I said, well, what a wonderful thing that some 35 years after you've finished doing your chosen field, after you finish doing what you're doing for your life's work, somebody still knows who you are. Isn't that wonderful?
Yes, talk about a living legacy and keeping that alive. You were always a cook, a growing of tomatoes and everything else, and that's back in the day when you actually, after games, would have teammates over and you'd serve it up back then too, right?
Well, of course. And what better way to relax than sitting out in the backyard with a couple of cool adult beverages and got the barbecue going, got the smell of the charcoal, of the smoke, of whatever you're cooking. And my wife, Jan, was always very involved in the inside stuff. And the boys were out in the backyard just enjoying the scenery, you might say.
And we know that you expanded down to OC, your son JW down there. And we got Rob here, your co-author. And I got to say, Rob, I looked at this book and it's definitely the flavor of Baltimore. This is not just, it gives some Boog secret recipes, but it also gives us a real good taste of the man, the legend, and just what Baltimore of bygone years in baseball was.
Well, Tony, that's what appealed to me about this project, in addition to working with Boog, who is a wonderful fellow to work with and who tells great stories and stories that have a beginning, middle, and end. But also he epitomized, the feeling of camaraderie and folksiness that is Baltimore. He really does remember people. He really does care about people, and he has a very long memory.
Yeah. He certainly doesn't. In the book, you bring some of those anecdotes that he shared with you. What's your favorite one? I'm sure there's tons of them.
I think my favorite one is when he had Yogi. Yogi was catching, and Boog came up, and he was a rookie, and Yogi started talking to him as a catcher about food. And before Boog knew what was going on, he had struck out. So the next time he comes up, Yogi starts to try to talk to him again, and Boog says, "Wait a minute, Yogi, excuse me a minute." And Boog slammed the ball. I believe it was a double, and scored the winning run. And Yogi said he never would talk to him after that.
You remember that one, Boog, going back a few years?
Oh, yeah, just like it was yesterday. I mean, I would walk in the batter's box, and Yogi would say, "Well, where'd you go to dinner last night?" Strike one. And what'd you have? I said, "Well, strike two." And then he would say, "Well, where are you going to go tonight?" Strike three. And it was kind of comical. The next time up, I walked in and I said, "Yogi," I says, "I'm not talking to you till we get through hit."
I got some work to do here, right? Some hitting to do. Otherwise,
ended up like Rob said. I think I got a double one.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what it was, but I very definitely remember coming around and scoring, and he said, "I'm never talking to you again."
Well, there you go. We're showing video right now, hitting one of your classic shots out there. And we got to mention, too, Boog, as we wind up the interview, that you are a living legend. You're always there for the fans. I've heard countless fans just say you greet them, and they're going to have a chance, if they haven't been to the ballpark, you will be signing copies of your book, 5 p.m. Friday, September 12th. Speaking of Yogi, it's against those Yogis. A big game coming up. You'll be at the Sports Legend Museum. That's right next to Camden Yards. We want to thank Boog. We want to thank Rob Kasper. This is the book. You can check it out. Lots of good memories of Baltimore, Boog, barbecue, and baseball. More info, head to our website, foxbaltimore.com/morning. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you, Tony.